Hello everybody, I'm here to do a review today on Mr. Hyde. I've also got Mr. Fix-It alongside for comparison. We'll have a look at Mr. Hyde first. So Mr. Hyde is part of the wave, the recent Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure wave, of course. I wasn't sure if I was going to get him. I wasn't that keen on a lot of the figures in the wave initially. It's the Shang-Chi wave. Excuse me if I mispronounce Shang-Chi, but I think that's pretty close to being correct. However, I do like the figures in it. I might have a look at those another day, but I really wanted to focus on Mr. Hyde. I really love Mr. Hyde. I've always been a fan of the old Robert Louis Stevenson story and anything sort of I like horror as well. So this Mr. Hyde figure obviously throws back to that. It's obviously a direct take off the Mr. Hyde from the Robert Louis Stevenson novel, to the point where the actual character in the Marvel comic, I think it's Calvin Zabo, actually models himself on Mr. Hyde, and he develops a special formula to turn him into a Mr. Hyde-like monster. I'd first read about Mr. Hyde in one of the in an Avengers stories from the 1980s, where the Masters of Evil take over the Avengers mansion, and that's a really good storyline, and it leads into a long battle with the Olympians being the Greek gods. Those are Avengers stories well worth checking out. Highly recommend them. So Mr. Hyde, as you can see, is dressed in a green suit. This is sort of his typical wear. He always dresses in a suit of some kind. The character Calvin Zabo is actually a bit, I guess, of a fashionista. I don't know what the word is. Just made that one up. I know it's not a made-up word, but I just don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so you can see he's got this nice suit. You can see he's got this nice tailored jacket, and he's got this nice hat. He's got this, as you can see, got a nice bow tie shirt. Now, and he also comes with this cane. Now this, yeah, I think he's I'll turn him around. Yeah, the back isn't as interesting, except he's got the long jacket. As you can see, in terms of articulation, he's got the standard articulation. He moves around pretty well. He's quite posable. I'm not really an articulation person. One thing to note is when I assembled him, you just noticed the leg looked a bit loose there. The legs are very difficult to get on, so you might want to heat up the legs, because they're not easy to get on at all. That was a bit of a pain. I actually thought for a little while that I wouldn't be able to get them on, because yeah, it was just quite difficult. So for comparison's sake, I'll just bring in Mr. Fix-It. Hello, Mr. Fix-It, how are you? Now, Mr. Hyde is actually modelled on Mr. Fix-It. Mr. Fix-It came out first, as anyone watching this would probably know, because you're probably not watching this unless you're a Marvel fan. However, I actually think I like Mr. Hyde a bit more. I like the head. I love the head on Mr. Hyde. I just think it looks awesome. Mr. Fix-It, for those who might be new to this, is actually a version of the Hulk. Yeah, he's probably the weakest version of the Hulk, but he's quite cunning, and he's got more intelligence than the old Savage Hulk. So he's actually quite cunning, conniving, but he's weaker. So even though Mr. Hyde is modelled on him, I actually like Mr. Hyde a bit more. I think he's got more going on, especially in terms of the suit. You know, you get the waistcoat, and you get the bow tie and the shirt, and the hands are a little bit more interesting. Yeah, so I'll just move Mr. Fix-It out of the way. Don't get me wrong, I do like Mr. Fix-It. Yeah, so there you have him, Mr. Hyde, as I mentioned, part of the Shang-Chi wave. He's a great figure to have. I really do like him. He's got the normal, you know, articulation of a Build-A-Figure. It's a little bit limited, as you'd expect, but he's not bad at all. You can have a lot of fun with him. Yeah, so this is a great looking figure. I'd highly recommend getting the wave. I might go through the figures at some point. I'm probably reasonably familiar with them. But yeah, thank you for this review of Mr. Hyde. I was really keen to do a review because I quite like him. And yeah, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and peace out. Thank you.